As you learn about the narcissistic pattern, it's also wise to reflect on the much healthier alternatives. Now, below you're going to find a link to my new extensive course called Ready, Set, Connect. It addresses both the mindset and the skills involved in gratifying relationships, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. I want to talk with you today about one of the most disillusioning things that you have to come to terms with as you're engaging with a narcissist, and that is narcissists have, shall we say, a very loose relationship with honesty and truth. You know what I'm talking about there? It's essential for you to understand that the narcissistic pattern of life is built upon a couple of very strong ingredients that go hand in hand. One, the narcissist puts a great deal of emphasis on living behind what we refer to as their false self. In other words, a long time ago, they decided that there is no way that they want to show the real self to the world out there because that's too risky. And so they try to make themselves appear publicly much more advantageous and favorable than is really honest. And then right along with that, they concoct what we refer to as their own alternate reality, which is a nice way of saying they just have a continuation of making things up that are going to go along with that false self. They want to make sure that whatever stories are told and interpretations are made are something that benefit them, and of course that's going to diminish you. Basically, the narcissist has more or less decided, if I get to be the writer and the creator of truth and the facts, then I win. Whatever I say is true is. Now, and that's the way they operate. And of course, you can't really have a good, honest relationship when that's the case. Now, of course, as we get to know each other, whether we're talking about inside your home, in your extended family, with friendships, organizations, at work, over time, all sorts of things begin to rise to the surface with respect to us knowing one another. I mean, by that, I mean we get to know each other's backstory a bit more fully when we have exposure to each other. Our emotions are shown and exposed, and so we have to come to terms with what all that means. Sometimes people pick up on each other's hurts. Your interests become known, your successes become known. People can pick up on your needs, your pluses, your minuses. And part of the fabric of building a healthy relationship is to go into that space with that sense of honesty intact. But over time, as you talk with a narcissist, particularly when you're not exactly in sync with the narcissist, you begin realizing they have a hard time being honest when all of that starts coming out onto the surface. They have a great deal of unwillingness to talk honestly about their own character traits. For example, if you say you have a bad temper and it's really getting in the way, they'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. Or, for example, they also can have difficulty tracking memories with you. For example, if you say, well, yesterday you told me you were going to do this, and they'll say, that's not what I meant. And so, again, they just won't be truthful because they don't want to be pinned down. They very easily will go back on their word. They'll misrepresent to you what they interpret about you, and they'll speak dishonestly about what you said or what you did. They speak in half-truths much of the time. For example, they may say something like, well, yesterday all I can tell is you just were not in a good frame of mind. And you're thinking, well, actually yesterday you told me to kind of pull back and relax, and now you're telling me that I was not in a good frame of mind. You're not speaking honestly about that. I mean, that's how they operate. They use a lot of denial when you try to confront them about some of the things that need to be adjusted. They'll say, that's not a problem. I don't know what you're talking about. They'll do blame shifting when they're caught red-handed in doing something wrong. They find somebody as a scapegoat, or they make all sorts of excuses. They become angry so they can distract you from getting into the facts as they are. And so there's a pervasive tendency that they have to just simply pick and choose what they're going to focus on. Lies, distortions, misrepresentations are first nature to the narcissist. Now, as we go back and remind ourselves, they're committed to the false self, they're committed to alternate reality, it becomes evident that those two ingredients are embedded in the narcissist. It's first nature. It becomes an ingrained habit. And so this requires you to have to come to terms with the stark truth behind a narcissist's dishonesty. Now, first and foremost, the stark truth about a narcissist's dishonesty says, to the narcissist, facts are irrelevant. Facts can be inconvenient to them. Facts can be indicting. Facts are to them something that can be manipulated. And so you're trying to talk with them and say, hey, let's take a look at what the facts say. And you're hoping that they're going to just go right along with you and say, yes, this happened. Yes, that's what we agreed to. And they're constantly maneuvering around that because you see, facts are irrelevant, facts are inconvenient. Another stark truth that we need to come to terms with is whenever you plead your case with them to examine the real facts about whatever's going on between you and that person is not going to change their mind. Or let me make it even more specific. When you try to get them to examine facts, it's not going to change their essence, their sense of being. They are what they are, and on the inside, there's such a fear that they have of being open and vulnerable that that fear is central to their essence. It's what they are. Another part of the stark truth behind a narcissist's dishonesty is that narcissists define facts very differently than you and I would. For example, to the narcissist, a fact is whatever suits my immediate need. To them, a fact is whatever keeps me above you. To the narcissist, the fact is whatever makes me feel smug. That's what my fact is. Or the fact is whatever makes me feel like I'm a somebody, that I'm extra special. And if they have to distort things, I'm willing to do that. That becomes my fact. To the narcissist, a fact is whatever keeps them from having to be accountable to you. To a narcissist, facts are whatever makes you look foolish. Now, I know it's crazy when I say this, but and I'm sure you've had so many episodes where it's like I can't get them to acknowledge the real truth of things. And let's keep in mind that the narcissist facts, which are not facts at all, tells us that objectivity is completely lost on a narcissist. Subjectivity, in other words, whatever's best for me, is in full control. And it's going to be so essential for you to know that's what you're dealing with. Now, it's also important for you to understand the reason that narcissists are so willing to be dishonest with you is because for decades they've been dishonest within themselves. They can't possibly be honest with you in terms of acknowledging what is and what's been agreed to and all, because they've been lying to themselves for so many years on so many different topics. For example, they have bought into the lie that says, I'm more important than you. Or another lie they believe, and they think if you have needs, they're irrelevant. If I have needs, they're essential. Or they bought into the lie that says our problems can't be my fault. So guess who that leaves as the default person who's going to be at fault or to blame. They bought into the lie that I deserve respect, you don't. Or they bought into the lie that says when I am inappropriate, it's because you set it up. And they've also bought into the notion that says revealing the real me diminishes me, so that's simply not going to happen. So understanding that there are these stark truths and dishonesties that underlie the whole narcissistic way of being, let's look at a few true facts, okay? It is a fact that a narcissist's need for control defies all logic. Their need to be in control and their attitude of entitlement supersedes whatever you know to be real. And so it's going to be very difficult to break into honesty with them as long as they're in that high control mode. It's also a fact that a narcissist thinks that if they reveal their hurts or their inner pain or their inadequacies, that would equate to having great shame upon them. And that's something that they run away from. Whether they were shamed as a kid or whether they saw other people being judged and they realized, okay, if I learn how to play the game correctly, then I'll avoid it. They're constantly trying to maneuver around having shame upon themselves because they think in such critical and judgmental thoughts. Another fact that we'll need to come to terms with is that any effort that's put in, the effort that the narcissist puts into their false self has drained them of any ability to have empathy. They're so consumed with thinking, where do I stand right now and what's going to benefit me, that it doesn't even occur to them to think, I need to think about who you are and what's going on behind the scenes there with you. It doesn't even cross their mind. And then another fact that we need to acknowledge, at least in the narcissist's mind, they think lying works. That's how they operate. That's their go-to way of thinking. And so I'm hoping that as you are trying to get to know these people and you have differences and conflicts and you realize that they keep coming at you with all sorts of distortions of truth, that you're going to have to come to terms with the stark honesty. Like I say, truth is irrelevant. Facts are irrelevant. It's all about me. Now, what this means is a couple of things. Number one, I'm hoping that you can pick up on the opposite of that false self and that alternate reality. I'm hoping that you can live with self-regard and that you can have reflective thinking, that you're the kind of person that says, I like to explore who I am. And it does mean that you'll have to have boundaries when you have people that'll come in and say, well, I want to distort all of it. It's like, you can be distorted all you want. I'm not entering into that false reality with you. The bottom line is when you're on Team Healthy, you want to stand for the things that are trustworthy and right and decent. And the sad truth is a narcissist is not going to be somebody who's going to be able to join you in any kind of clean way to be a trustworthy partner. It's a fact. You'll have to factor that in. Now, I hope this gives you something to watch for and to understand as you're trying to engage with these individuals. Knowledge is power, and the more you understand about this, the more cleanly you can proceed in your dealings with them. If you've not already hit the subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Gus over here, he's chilling today. He's not too worried about his alternate reality, is he? That's his reality. Gus and I'll keep more videos coming in your direction. Sometimes when you're dealing with these kind of issues, you can realize that you have a need for somebody to help you out and unpack these things. We have a sponsor, the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy source. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that you could choose from. There's a link below. If you have that need, I would strongly encourage you to seek that out. It's affordable, it's accessible, and it's become a very popular way of seeking out therapy. In addition, we have my therapeutic courses, and when I say courses, it's like signing up for an online class. We have 3, and they have multiple videos and teaching documents and guided questions. Ready, Set, Connect about having good connection skills. This is me about establishing boundaries with those difficult people. Free to be, Finding Yourself Despite the Controllers. We have my podcast, the Surviving Narcissism podcast. We have my books and other resources. Thank you for letting me be part of your journey. Okay, narcissists are not anchored in truth. I'm hoping that you can be anchored in the truth about their lack of truthfulness. And in doing so, it positions you to remain steady despite their unsteadiness, because I'm hoping that in the long run, you're going to remain committed to dignity, respect, and civility, which then takes you down the path toward peace.